Welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I am your host, Wize, and today we're joined by a special guest. He's a dynamic entrepreneur, devoted family man, and a visionary in the fitness industry with over 15 years of experience. My next guest has transformed his passion for fitness into a thriving enterprise. As the founder and CEO of Strive 11 Fitness and the host of the Mindset Cafe podcast, he's dedicated to empowering individuals to achieve their fullest potential. His best-selling book, Money Muscle Mindset, serves as a blueprint for aspiring gym owners and entrepreneurs alike. Welcome to the show, Devan Gonzalez.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine, man. I'm glad to have you on the show.
Well, the pleasure is mine. Thank you for having me on. To be honest, it's always a pleasure.
I know how it is when you have a podcast and you're a guest. It's always fun to be a guest.
It's true.
So your journey began at the age of 13 as a martial arts instructor. Is that true?
Yeah. So I started off as a martial arts instructor at the age of 13, and it was one of those things where I got the job opportunity just because I got my black belt. And once I got my black belt, the head instructor asked if I wanted to help out teach some of the classes, and it kind of just opened up that door to me, actually getting to lead classes and really finding my passion in helping other kids. And even honestly, at the age of probably like 15-ish, I was training some of the adults and stuff, which was kind of weird, a 15-year-old training adults, but it was definitely a cool experience.
How has that early experience shaped your leadership style today?
Being able to, I would say, resonate with different, age groups, not just your peers, is definitely a skill that I think I learned from that young age and that experience. Because, when you're teaching kids that are 2 and 3, it's obviously, just all fun and games.
Yeah.
And then you have the kids that are, my younger brother's age, a couple years younger, but then all of a sudden you're teaching kids that are older than you. And then you're teaching, adults, just fitness and taking them through a workout. You have to be able to put on different masks in the sense of being more playful and then being more serious and more professional and acting above your age, essentially, especially at that young age.
Absolutely. So what inspired the creation of Strive 11 Fitness, and how does it differ from traditional gym models?
So Strive 11 Fitness came from, the foundations of it came from when I was a personal trainer. I would have clients, all of it was in person, so I didn't have any online clients. And I would have my clients going to these boot camps and stuff in between our sessions, because majority of clients, didn't or wouldn't follow essentially homework. So I was like, that's fine. If you're not going to work out with me in between our sessions and follow the homework, at least go to one of these boot camps and these group sessions. And over the years, hearing them come back with the similar complaints and similar issues with the different models, it was weird to me that no one has solved these core issues. The class time's not lining up with their schedule. The most popular times always being full. And so over probably the next year, before the gym was even really a thing, it was okay, can these pieces work together? Or is that why it hasn't been created? It's just not doable. And so with Strive 11 Fitness, essentially it's a boot camp style model, but yet we have no class time. So that's our real differentiating factor, is the fact that you can come in on your schedule versus the gym schedule.
In Money Muscle Mindset, you discussed the trifecta of success. Can you elaborate on how money, muscle, and mindset intertwine?
So, I feel like that's almost like the 3 pillars of life is, your health, right? Your finances, and then also your mindset around anything that you do. But with the book, I'm huge on analogies and symbolism. And for the book, essentially the first chapter and the last chapter are about mindset, specifically around, becoming a gym owner and a business owner. But I believe that everything begins and ends with your mind. So that's why I wanted the first and last chapters to be about mindset, because the moment you believe something is possible, it is. The moment you stop believing it's possible or reality, then it becomes impossible for you to achieve it. And then with your money, you have to be able to track your finances. You need to know what money's going out, what money's coming in to be able to achieve the dreams or the goals that you want or desire out of life. But also, if you're not happy with where you currently are, there's ways to fix it. It's just your willingness to go out on a limb and take some chances. Right. and then muscle just being fitness and health, right? I mean, that's, you only get one body essentially, and at the end of the day, you want to try to live a longer, healthier life and a happier life. Well, then you should put some work in towards that.
Definitely. Um, how do you balance being a girl dad and a husband with the demands of running a fitness franchise?
I mean, I feel like it's a continuous work in progress, to be honest. It's being a girl dad is already brought out another side of me. I think that's helped in being a business owner, being more compassionate, being more, because I was never one of those emotional kids, and didn't really show my feelings. Maybe it was because I was the first child of three boys, but that has allowed me to kind of translate that into business ownership. But in terms of like being able to delegate time to my daughter and to my wife and that home life, it's honestly just about scheduling and timing, right? And being intentional with your time, because I feel that people think that there's too much to do in the day, and so they get stuck in, oh man, I am overwhelmed. It's like you could sit there and dwell on everything that you have to do, or it's like, look, I only have 3 hours to get some of these things done. Let me maximize that and be intentional. So like when I'm at the gym, I'm not on my phone dealing with home stuff. When I'm at home, I'm not on my phone dealing with
Absolutely.
stuff. And I think that's one of the biggest things, because I mean, my daughter doesn't care how successful the gym is or isn't, or the business is or isn't. She just cares that I'm spending time with her, right? And that's one of the things where that hour or that 5 minutes or whatever the time is, like, make it worth it for them.
Absolutely. What challenges did you face transitioning from a personal trainer to a business owner, and how did you overcome them?
I think going from personal trainer to business owner, there was essentially growing pains in terms of like when I was a personal trainer, I had my own personal training company. And even though I called myself an entrepreneur at the time, being a solopreneur, not having any employees, not having anyone to kind of teach and mentor besides clients or other trainers that I help bring up, you wear all the hats. And so whether you're successful, whether you're not successful, it all relies on you. But the moment you actually open a business and you have employees and you have a team, it goes from being about you to being about the team, and being able to teach the team the skills that they need to have, because it may be faster for you to do it in the moment, but over the course of time, is it really time efficient for you to be doing all the tasks just to save that 5 minutes while doing it? Right. So it's like you can teach them how to do it, delegate and stuff. And I think that's one of the things where I know I struggled in the beginning, was being able to delegate the things, and maybe it wasn't done 100% how I liked it, but it still worked, and it was still good. So it's one of those things that realizing that it doesn't have to be perfect, and just because you didn't do it and your team did it, like it's going to be good, right? And then allows you to focus on the things that are actually moving the needle and growing the business instead of working in the business. You're able to work on the business.
Okay. Um, the Mindset Cafe podcast covers a range of topics.
Mhm.
What has been one of your most impactful episodes to date, and why?
I would say I forget the episode number, but it was with Justin Prince. He has a book called Be the One. And in that book, he talked about, and I talked to him about it, about white belt mentality, right? Because in martial arts, and it kind of linked up with my background, but in martial arts, you go white belt to black belt, and people assume that once you hit black belt, you know everything. But really, that's when like the real training begins, because then there's black belt first degree, second degree, and so forth. And so realizing that in life and business relationships, like having that white belt mentality, realizing that you can always get better. There's always more to learn. And that personal development mindset, it's an endless journey to improvement. Right. I think so that that's one of the biggest perspective changes and in life that has been able to help me. It's like you're better than you were yesterday, or you're better than you are in a year, but in a year from now, you should be even better.
Yeah, yeah, that's something I know I work on every day. Is it's find something to work on daily. So I'm trying to improve, or read something or learn something constantly. Just wanting to improve. Like when I started my podcast, I wasn't in media. This
Mhm.
wasn't like my lane, but once I started, I learned uh, how to edit my podcast, how to do video, what equipment that I wanted to invest in myself, because you can start with anything. Right now, with the way phones are and everything, you can do a podcast with that, and then. But if when I really truly got into it, I was like, "No, I want to spend money on the mic. I want to spend. I want to get me a board, a mix board where I'm able to control my sound and all this, and want to invest in a quality camera, lighting, all these different things, because this was something I really truly loved, and so I just started investing in myself.
No, and I think that's important, and I think there's like an important like note in that is like, I mean, I did it the same way. We did it with those clip-on mics in the beginning
Yeah,
that the audio was way too grainy, and but you make it work, and then you upgraded to a little bit better clip-on mics, and then eventually to the nicer microphones and so forth, and then you started off with GarageBand or some basic platform, and then you again
Audacity.
level up. But it's one of those things where I think that people think you have to have all of the nicest stuff to get started, when in reality you're just learning how to do it, and it's better to start and get some reps under your belt and find if it's even something that you like doing. You might start a podcast or start something and realize that this is not what it was meant to be, or what you thought it was going to be, right? And now you just dropped hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars, on all this stuff that you realize that is of no use.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I definitely did my research. I just looked at all different types of equipment, and still within my budget. I didn't go crazy. I didn't. There's still things that I'm still holding back off because I just. But it was just something important to me that I did invest money in myself, and improving my audio, because like you said, when you start off with the grainy mic and all these other things. You're like, oh man, when you start listening to it, because once I started editing the audio and all that stuff, it's like you start hearing everything. You just start hearing everything, seeing all the ums, the ahs, and all these different things. So it was like, okay, let me just start improving, start chopping stuff up, started doing different things, and it was just started grow. You just start seeing the growth in the podcast,
Hmm.
and me, I don't have a team right now. I'm still working on. It's just me and everything. But eventually, yeah, I wanna get to the point where I can just start delegating, but I've gotten also invested in software to help me ease some of the burdens that I would spend hours doing when I first started.
Hmm. I mean, that's what we do too. Is like, I mean, I have someone that helps me with the podcast, but originally, like, I was outsourcing a lot, and it was like, man, like, I want to learn how to do it a little bit. So I put on those hats and I figured it out, because I would also, first few episodes, people are like, man, I have to turn it down and turn it up and turn it down. Like, the audio is all over the place. And so I did learn how to do it, and then created SOPs around doing it. And now I have someone that is like, I'm just like, follow this step, this is how it's done. And now it takes that weight off my shoulders.
Yeah, no, eventually, yeah, that's my goal, is to help train someone to really just be able to do it without me having to watch over them.
Hmm.
So how do you foster a positive culture within your franchise to ensure consistency across all your locations?
In terms of like brand standards.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think it comes from like being clear up front what the opportunity is, what the the brand is, and being in presenting the opportunity and selling the opportunity with that in mind, right? If you're leaving it up to a lot of interpretation, that's where issues come arise, right? It's like, this is what our color scheme is, right? This is why our color scheme is this way. This is why we sell these products. You're only allowed to sell these products. Like, so ahead of time, it's straight out the gate. This is what is allowed, isn't allowed, is one thing. But then two, being there and not just giving a blueprint and then being like, well, you have the game plan. Good luck. Right. Cause I think that's one of the biggest things where, people are still trying to figure it out. Like, even though you're a franchisee, you are an entrepreneur, and they're signing on for a franchise because they want someone in their corner that's walked that path, not to just give them a manual and be like, follow this and only this is your new Bible. It's like, they want someone in their corner to help them, shed light on all of the unknowns. And that's why they signed up to be part of your team. So for us, that I view it as each location, essentially, it's a new team added on, right? It's their business, it's their location. But at the end of the day, we collaborate on everything, right? It's like, you have an idea that we could roll out for the whole franchise, bring it to the table and we'll talk about it, right? Because you might have a great idea that I just haven't thought of yet, right? So it's like, bring it to the table, let's talk about it. But if it is a no, I'm going to explain why. I'm not going to just say no, like, don't do it. It's like, no, this doesn't work because X, Y, and Z, and understand, like, so that they can understand it, right?
Yeah.
My goal is for their business to be successful, and they know that, and that's why they're signing on. And so, in me telling them no and explaining why, they get to understand why this could actually hurt their business and hurt them financially. They're less likely to do it.
Absolutely. What role does community play in the success of Strive 11 Fitness?
I say community is everything, to be honest. Like, in the fitness community, in the fitness, can't say the word in the definition, in the fitness industry, community is key, because fitness is such a fragile thing for a lot of people that are already intimidated to go to the gym, right? And so if someone's walking to the gym and it's, metal music and this hardcore thing, well, someone that's a more timid person's probably not going to want to go to that gym, right? And so, but at the same time, the community that does go to that gym are like-minded people. So for Strive 11, the kind of music, the energy, the people, the members that we have are all there to better themselves and encourage other people, whether it's your first day or whether it's, you've been doing fitness for 10 years and you're trying to switch it up, and that's one of the biggest parts of it. So it almost feels like a family. It's almost a home away from home. You had a tough day at work, you had a stressful day at your job or at home. It's like, this is your safe haven, that all you get to leave all your worries at the door, and while you're just putting in that work on you. Right. And I think that that community built inside of our location is what we've tried to instill within the franchise system. And that's why, with that brand standard and everything, I think it's so key to make sure that you're trying to create a community within the business side of it too, from our team to the franchisees to their teams. It's like, it should feel like a Strive tribe, essentially.
How do you stay ahead of industry trends to keep Strive 11 innovative and relevant?
Research. I mean, it's we have things that we've tested, we've tried, it doesn't work. We've taken things from different industries that aren't necessarily in the fitness industry or as prevalent in the fitness industry, and then realize, well, it may work for a different model but didn't really fit our model. But also realizing that efficiency is the name of the game, right? For members' results, but also for business owners. So constantly talking to the team at each level, from the managers, system managers, to the trainers, and then to the members as well. Get feedback. What do they like? What would they like if things were, a little different? And obviously everyone's gonna have their own input, and you have to take it with a grain of salt. But that's where the ideas of improvement come from, right? I mean, there's some systems that I learned recently that it's like a 10 step process. I'm like, this is not going to be the most efficient. There has to be a better solution. So, over the last week, we've been, kind of changing some stuff up and got it from a 10-step process to a 5-step process, so it's the constant, I guess, renovations of your model and of your essentially business.
Are you also do you also have something as far as a like some people like you're talking about how people who sometimes don't feel comfortable going to gyms and all that and everything.
Mhm.
Do you have anything for people who prefer to work out from home?
Not currently. That is in our game plan in the future, to create more of an online space, so we have members that go on vacation and so forth.
Yeah.
So to be able to do that model and continue to do that workouts, whether they're here or not here, is in our roadmap. But currently, no, we don't. I think it's one of those things where the market that is only going to work from home isn't as big as you would think if they were, would rather go to the gym or not. Because I mean, I've had personal training clients that have full gyms, built out in their house, but yet they would still drive to whatever gym I was training at the time to work out with me. And it's the personal connection, the accountability, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, you have all these pieces of equipment at your house. Like, do this tomorrow. Like, this is the workout you're going to do tomorrow. And they're like, no, like, I don't get, like, I like to be around people when I work out. And I'm like, why did you spend $5,000 on equipment? Like, because I thought I was going to do it. And it's like, okay, well,
What advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur looking to enter the fitness industry?
the fitness industry specifically, I would say it is competitive. And while I say that, it's competitive for a reason, right? When industries are competitive, people try to stray away from them, like, oh, the market's too saturated, and this reason and that reason. Well, it's competitive for a reason, because there's a market, right? And so you just have to find what is your differentiating factor, what is your niche. But be careful, don't niche down too hard, or else you're not going to have any clientele, right? And especially, I would say, with personal trainers, right? Every personal trainer that wants to start off with their ideal client. It's like, if you don't have a client roster yet, be careful of how particular you are. Like, you also have no income coming in, that means, right? And so I think that was one of the things that allowed me to grow as a personal trainer, was I took clients that were my, preferred client. And then I also took the spectrum of clients, and it allowed me to, one, broaden my clientele, where I was making over 6 figures doing that. And also, it switches up your days. You're not doing the same workouts over and over and over again. And then the fitness industry in general, it's like, there are so many different, like, facets of fitness. You just have to find out what you want. Or do you want to get into sales? Do you want to get into marketing? Do you want to get into, whatever the case? What are people currently doing, and how can you be a little bit different?
How do you measure success right now beyond financial metrics?
I mean, what fills your cup is how I kind of view it. I mean, for me, financial metrics, it shows the health of the business. It shows your financial health, but it doesn't necessarily measure happiness. And in my opinion, like, happiness and success are kind of go in the same thing. But for me, like, success is, are you living the life that you want to live? Is this your dream life? Right. And for me, like, one of my dreams is just the build. Like, I love the journey. I love the game of the growth. As weird as it sounds, I love the obstacles. Right. And so right now, that is success to me. Now, the other areas of success is, like, I view it in milestones, right? There's never an end destination. And so for me, it's like, we have 3 franchise locations, or we have 3 locations. Next milestone is hitting 5, then 15, then, and so forth. So it's like, each milestone is like a little celebration, right? And, go out to dinner, do whatever. But then it's like, back on the road, because there's a new milestone. That's just, for me, that's always the way I've always viewed it, because I just like that progress, and I don't like being complacent.
What daily habits contribute to your personal and professional growth?
I think one of the biggest things you mentioned earlier is, reading, listening to podcasts such as this. I've learned so much from podcasts and from other people's stories, that you can take someone's story, someone's journey, and mold it to fit your obstacle, right? And you can learn that through podcasts just as easy as you can learn it through books. But not everyone has the time to sit down and crack open a book. It's like, okay, well, you can't tell me on your drive to work, you can't listen to an audiobook, or you can't listen to, a podcast, instead of listening to the same song that you listen to every day on the way to work, right? Because good songs, not saying that there's not a place for them, but, you're listening to music to make you happy. It's like, okay, once the music's off, are you still happy? Right? You're in a good mood for a little bit, but it's like, your constant growth of knowledge and of perspective and all those kind of things, that creates a mindset that allows you to overcome any obstacle or hurdle in your day or in your life.
How do you approach setbacks or failures in your business ventures?
I think I never view them as failures. I mean, I think every setback, every obstacle, or every quote unquote failure is essentially a lesson, right? And believe me, I've had a lot of
Totally.
lessons, a lot of lessons. But that's part of the game, right? If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. If
Yeah.
success and wealth and the perfect body were all easy, why would it be of any value? Right? It's the effort and the cost that you have to put in, the time spent, the money spent, the effort spent that make it worth value. So you just have to trust the process. And my biggest thing is it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, right? So it may not work this time, it may not work next time, but eventually it's going to work. And that's the way I just kind of view any setback is. And believe me, and sometimes it is frustrating, right? You're like, this is definitely the way. Like this has to be it. There's no other way. I can't see it. And then it doesn't work out. And you're like, well, dang, that wasn't the way. And now you learned another way that didn't work. I mean, Thomas Edison didn't build or make the light bulb off the first try.
Yeah.
He has 999 ways that didn't work.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's with anything. Like, even when I first started with the podcast, it wasn't interview based podcast. It was more me. I was furloughed from work because of the pandemic. I had purchased a little $160 podcasting studio from Amazon the year before, and I had it in the house. I was going to start a podcast in 2019 with a friend, and it was just like, all right, I purchased this, and I didn't use it for a year, and then I get furloughed from work, and I was like, yo, let me just start, because I didn't have, like, the wife had a honey to do list because I was furloughed, but she was at work, so she was like, "Yep, I need you to get all this stuff done." So I was like, I need to find something for me, and so I finally got the courage and stepped out of my comfort zone and decided to press record, and it was 7 minutes long. It wasn't that long, but it was funny because the way the episode went, it was me talking to my nephew on the phone. I didn't have the proper hookup, jacks, none of that. I was holding the phone to the mic, and you could hear him on the mic, and that was it. That was like, he was like, "Nah, we can't release that." I was like, "Nah, we got to. This is just the beginning. This is where we're gonna start at. This is where I want people to know, hey, this is where we started at. Look
Mhm.
where we're at now, where it's much more different, much more set up and organized." But that took time. That took me working on myself, working constantly, and doing podcasts constantly, and just improving, and taking the time to want to improve, and one of the things that at first, when I first started the interviews and started talking to entrepreneurs and coaches and everything, I was like kind of feeling selfish because I was enjoying the conversations so much. And then someone pointed out, but you're sharing it. You're doing the podcast. You're putting it out there. It's not like you're hoarding the information. But it was just like, I'm just enjoying the knowledge, just being able to speak to someone like yourself, and see and hear your experience and what you're going through, and hopefully someone out there listens to the episode, and they're like, man, I got a similar stories to Devin, and maybe I can do something similar to what he's doing.
Mhm. No, I honestly I agree. Like what I do want to rewind real quick to what I think is so interesting about your transition into podcasting. I mean, that was kind of my full transition into entrepreneurship of becoming a personal trainer, like with my own personal training company. Was I was working for a gym and I was the personal training manager. And essentially there was a disagreement between me and the owner. And at first he wanted to let me go. And then, he was like, well, actually, I'm just going to move you to a different location. And it was a Spanish speaking community. And I was like, okay, well, I can understand Spanish to a degree, but I definitely cannot speak it to be able to sell personal training, nor do I actually know any exercises in Spanish. I was like, so that's not going to work out. So I was like, you know what? I quit. And so I walked out and I called my girlfriend, who's now my wife, And I let her know. I was like, I quit. I'm over it. And then she was like, hold on, what are we talking about? And I was like, oh, I'm in my job, And then she was like, so what are you gonna do? And I was like, I'm gonna do this for myself. And that's essentially my push that into solopreneurship. The same thing for you, getting let go and getting furloughed and taking that step. It's like, okay, you can sit there and dwell on what had happened, or you can push record, see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've come a long way, man. It's 5 years later now, and um, I've released probably 266 audio podcasts. I started off strictly audio,
Mhm.
and then it wasn't like 2 years. It was 2 years in when I started doing video and audio. So I've probably done quite a few interviews in the past 5 years.
Definitely. I mean, I think that's how I started off too, is just audio because it's, one, it was easier and didn't have all the equipment to make it
Yeah.
all work. But, similar to your first episode, I think that was we never actually even released it. Um, but there was an episode when it was more about fitness and nutrition, and recorded like probably like a 30-minute episode. And then went to listen to it and you could barely understand it because the volume was all jacked up. And I was like, oh man, well, not gonna record that one again. I don't want to talk about that again. So just moved on. But you live and you learn, and
Mhm.
at the end of the day, you just like business, and what we're talking about, how you stay relevant is you start off with audio, and then all of a sudden you move to video, and you progress, right? You start getting better, you start to add a little bit more, and then you add a little bit more, and it's like that's the name of the game, is just constant improvement, and not realizing that you're currently at your best. Like in another 5 years, another 500 episodes, what are you going to sound like then? Right. It's like, that's what you got to just look at and have that mindset and that perspective of it's only uphill.
No, it's actually giving me something. It's like I'm 48. I'll be 49 this year,
Mhm.
and and I have a good paying job. I'm a pit boss at a casino, and so but I found something in podcasting that's just, to me, I just love doing it. Being able to have people come on, share their stories, and sometimes some of the messages I receive from people with that, hey, thank you for this episode, or I had one of my personal favorite episodes was uh someone I interviewed years ago, and I had her come back on, and because we had become friends through that time, and I had her come back on, and we recorded a show, another episode, and I didn't release that episode till like almost a year after we recorded because it got lost in the shuffle. And when I released it, she was like, "Is that the episode we recorded last year?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry for recently releasing it so late and everything." And she was like, "No, thank you." She's like, "I forgot who that person was." She was like, "I've been going through so many different things that you reminded me with your description, that you picked one of my favorite photos of me." And she's like, "Thank you. I needed that." And sometimes you're like, I guess this is how it was supposed to happen. This episode was supposed to be released now because she needed it
Mhm.
at that point. So it's those moments that have really inspired me to really be like, all right, let me just keep going. Let me just improve, and let me just continue to have these great conversations and these great interviews.
No, definitely. I mean, that's awesome. That's an awesome story.
Yeah, to me, it was like, okay, things happen for a reason. Like, I didn't release that episode when it was supposed at that time because this was the moment. This is the person who actually was in the interview needed the episode the most.
No, yeah. I mean, everything works out for a reason, I believe.
Yeah. So what upcoming projects or goals are you most excited about?
I mean, I think just the growth of the franchise, and continuing to see the locations open, and then my team develop with that. Honestly, I think that's the most rewarding part, is seeing the team grow over the last year, over the last 2 years, and each individual person getting better. And it's like, wow, I got to have a little piece of their growth, and help them essentially along their profession, whether they stay with us or not. Like that moment will always be a part of their journey and their story. I mean, hopefully, my team stays with me till the end, but you never know what life has, in store for you. But being able to contribute and see them grow, it's honestly like that's what fills my cup.
Yeah, no, I know how I know how you feel. Because like I said, I'm a pit boss, and when you get new dealers learning new games, and you get to explain to them and teach them the basics of the games and all these, and see them improve as dealers and all these stuff like that. It's those moments that you're like, man, that's that feeling where you're like, oh man, just seeing how they've grown and developed and come along in such short time or whatever time it's been. It's just like, all right, it's like that proud parent moment.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I mean, I would say I would probably go back to like my college self, and I would tell myself to start now, but I lived the frat life and did all of that fun stuff. Wouldn't change anything of it, but at the same time, you know, seeing how fast I've grown since the gym opened, since I launched my personal training company, all those things, like where could it have gone or where could it have been if I had started earlier? But at the same time, like you said, mentioned earlier, I think that everything happens for a reason and timing all happens for a reason. So at the same time, I would probably just tell that younger version of myself, just trust the process.
Absolutely, definitely. That's something good. That's some really sound advice there. But we've come to this part of the show where you're gonna get the solo screen and you get to plug away, let them know where they can find you, where they get book, everything.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, you can find me on, you can go to my website. It has pretty much a hub for everything, which is just Devan Devan Gonzalez GONZALEZ.com. You can learn more about the gym or about my social medias, all that kind of stuff.
All right. Thank you, Devin, for being a wonderful guest. I greatly appreciate it. Um, looks like you're frozen too. I don't know if it's on my end, but it's all
Yeah.
good. It's fine because StreamYard has it where you're recording now. Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
there you go.
I don't know. For some reason, my camera like shut off or something. I saw that too.
But it's all good. That's the great thing about podcasts and stuff like that. You there's always you always have those technical difficulties. There's been times where when I'm sitting here and my grandson just cuts off all the power on me, and in the middle of an interview, like everything goes blank, and I look down and he's just looking up at me like, "Hey, pop." I'm like, I can't get upset.
Exactly.
But thank you for being such a wonderful guest, man. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on.
But don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show and then we'll chat a little bit off the air.
Cool.
All right. Another great episode is in the books. Shout out to everybody who stopped by and left comments. LinkedIn user, I don't know who it is, but thank you so much. Gotta grow where you're planted. Yep. What's going on, Mickey? He says, hi, Devin. Hi, Wise. Hi, Mickey. How you doing? Chaka, thank you. How we're doing? I'm doing fine. You can answer him if you want, Devin. He wants to know how you guys doing.
Oh, we're doing well. We're doing good over here.
And yeah, I love going. Mickey loves going to the YMCA Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's good, Mickey. Stay active, man. You gotta keep active. And Mickey salutes Chaka. So one of the reasons I love this is one of the reasons I love doing it live is having people interact and leave comments. So I greatly appreciate everybody who stopped by. Big shout out to the Real Wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J, love you guys. Shout out to the boss lady, love you and appreciate everything you do. And as always, please, if you haven't subscribed, please do hit the notification bell, share the episode. All the links will be in the description. I'll put up Devin's website. Check him out. Definitely go support. And as always, big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. You know, boy, Wise does it. Peace out.